Welcome to the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show. As you can see with us is Indiana University Hoosier men's basketball coach and Broad Ripple High School class of 1976 graduate, Michael Woodson. Coach Woodson, thanks for taking some time to talk about basketball, talk about being at Broad Ripple, talking about Coach Smith, and of course, maybe a couple of questions within there of Coach Knight.
Okay. I'm more than happy to.
When you first met Coach Smith, what did you think? What was your? Did you think, wow, this is going to be a little rough. This is going to be a little tough. Suck it up, or how did that go?
Well, I met Smitty, my freshman year. Coach Partee was the freshman coach, and Smitty kind of set in on tryouts that year to see, what all the freshmen were looking like that year. And I made the freshman team, and he kind of followed us that year. We're a pretty good freshman team that year. We had a bunch of talent around the city that all kind of migrated to Broad Ripple that year. And then my sophomore year, I went out for the reserve team. And who was it? It was Van Meter, who was the reserve coach there at Ripple. Smitty set in on those tryouts, and I ended up making it. And then from there on, Smitty and I became kind of a partnership. The senior team that year was really good. And he played me like half the reserve games, made the reserve coach play me the first and second quarter. And then the third and fourth quarter, he made him save me for the varsity game, which I really never got to play, much because of the varsity team was really talented that year, until we got to the city championship rounds. And I ended up getting in the game at a critical time and threw a cross-court pass that cost the seniors the city championship as a sophomore. And he never said one word to me. He just took it out on the seniors like it was their fault. And really, it was my fault. And from that point on, Smitty and I developed a hell of a relationship, because my junior and senior year, that's when I really took off as a player.
People don't understand that the Hinkle sectional was really hard to get out of.
Well, it was because of all the inner city schools that possess so much talent. You look at Tech and Washington and Arlington, Marshall. Who else was it? I'm trying to. Cathedral, Howe. It was Christmas Addicts. I forgot about them. I mean, it was just so much inner city talent that, one game, slip up, you go home. And we basically, in the sectionals, we beat up on each other. And then schools, outside the city, the Garys, the Marions, those teams would come in, and I would always used to think that they always had an easier route than we inner city schools had, because of the talent that we had in the city.
I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit here, but what was it like to sit on the bench at Broad Ripple during their 1980 state championship run, and also have Steve Downing sitting on the Washington bench on the other side? What was that like?
I wasn't on the bench. That run, I was in 86, I was still playing basketball.
No, in 80.
And are you talking about sitting? Did I come down for that? I don't think so.
I have a picture of you sitting on the bench during the regionals, and Steve Downing was sitting on the Washington.
I thought you said the championship.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay. No, because I didn't get to see the long court pass and all of that. But no, it was unbelievable, because Smitty, Smitty was probably one of the last coaches, inner city coaches, to win it what I call the right way, the hard way. You got all these Class A divisions now in high school basketball in the state here. But he was one of the last inner city coaches, I think, to win the championship. It was a hell of a run for him because if I believe Stacy Turan doesn't make the long shot, they don't go to the finals that year to win it.
So what do you use? Do you still use something on a daily basis, or do you think of Coach Smith on a daily basis during coaching now at Indiana University? And what do you use from him?
There's not a day that goes by I don't think about Smitty, because when I look at our history together and our relationship that we developed, I was the player, and a lot of people don't know this. I was the player that probably cost Smitty a big-time job in college basketball at the University of Wisconsin. Because when I was coming out my senior year, Wisconsin was going to give Smitty the job if I had made the commitment to go. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to Indiana. I always knew I wanted to go to Indiana. And so Smitty never really got the big-time chance to coach on a major level in college. So I felt an obligation when I got in position as a pro head coach that I was going to do everything possible to help Smitty fulfill a dream that most high school coaches would never get an opportunity to do. And I made him, when I got the head job in Atlanta with the Hawks, I made him come to Atlanta once a month and learn the NBA game and sit with me and just learn. And then when I got the head job, he did that for 6 years. And when I got the head job in New York, I hired him as my assistant coach. And he was probably the oldest assistant coach in the NBA at that time and never coached in college, as far as I know, and never had a relationship in the NBA. So I thought it was fun. We had a good run in New York together, man. And then he ended up dying on me, which was a heartbreaker for me.
I talked to him the night before that he passed, and it was supposed to be like a routine surgery. And people just don't understand how many lives that guy touched.
No, he touched a lot of people, man. I was in Memphis the week before he died. And normally when I go to Memphis, I'll send a car to pick him and Lil, his wife, up to come down to the hotel and get him a room. And they would have dinner with me the night before the game. And then the next morning, he and I would always get up. He'd come to my meeting and we'll go have breakfast and then get on the bus and go over for shoot around. Well, that particular morning when we were there, he came down and had dinner, but he didn't have the strength to go. He said he wasn't feeling well, where he couldn't. Let me shut this off. He just didn't feel well to go to, and that wasn't like Smitty. So I said, well, just rest and then I'll come back and have lunch with you before the game. And I said, just get ready for the game because he always goes to the game. And I came back and said he just didn't feel like it. And I went up to the room and kind of laid there in the bed with him, shooting the breeze with him. And then he decided not to go to the game. And we went on and played the game. And I called him after the game. And I took off and headed back to where I was going. And then the next week he died, so it was like I really got a chance to see him before he got away. But boy, he got away too soon, man, because he was a good man, good man.
Did being coached under Coach Smith, and he was a father figure for many. I could go through stories. I know you were probably surprised to see a white guy sitting across from you to talk to you during an interview that, has so many great things to say about Coach Smith and what he meant to me. But did his coaching style kind of prepare you a little bit of what you spent 4 years under Coach Knight with?
Yeah, I mean, I think what he did for me he prepared me for Coach Knight, meaning, back then, a lot of the high school coaches kind of looked at Coach Knight as like the guy, which he was. And even though Smitty and Coach Knight had their differences, Smitty still respected Coach as a coach. And his principles were pretty much the same. He was very disciplined, Smitty was, on and off the court. And that, more than anything, forget the X's and O's, that prepared me for Coach Knight in a major way. Because if you're not ready for that when you come here to Indiana and played for Coach Knight at that time, it could be a struggle for you. So in that regard, Smitty put me in a different light by disciplining me on and off the court and got me really prepared when I stepped foot here on campus to play for Coach Knight.
I know basketball may occupy your mind 24/7, but when it's not, what does Coach Mike Woodson like to do in free time? Or are you just really a basketball junkie?
No, I spend a lot of time with basketball, but when I get away, my free time is basically with my family. If it's summertime, if I can sneak out and play golf, I do that. But I socialize a lot with friends. My daughters tease me all the time. They say, you just know too many people, based on that. And that's just my nature, man. I've been able to have a gift of bringing people together and building relationships. And that's kind of a signature thing for me. I run a big time golf program in Vegas where we bring a lot of people in, and it's just a good family atmosphere where guys can network and socialize, man. I'm big on that.
If you look closely in the background, probably you don't have to, but people will see that there's a nice photo there from you that you sent my son, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah.
So I know we're going to get the same cliches from you, but it's nice to start out the season 3-0.
It is. I mean, again, we're a team that's trying to figure out how to win, figure out how to bond together and learn and get to know one another. I mean, some of these guys have been together a while, and there are a number of guys that this is all new to them. But at the end of the day, these guys have done everything that I've asked them to do, and we just got to keep working, man, taking it a game at a time, a practice at a time, and see if we can grow and get this team back on top.
One last question. What's the schedule like compared to coaching in the NBA? Is it different, or is it a busier schedule? I mean, you got probably things to do at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I mean, does the day get away from you, or is it just as busy as coaching in the NBA?
I'll just say this: 34 years, 100 plus games. No, it's not as busy as the NBA. It really isn't. I mean, it's a lot of work in college basketball from the recruiting standpoint and staying on top of these players. But when you talk about a 30-game schedule versus a 100-plus schedule, that's the difference. You traveling, playing 3-4 games a week in the pros, and in college you probably playing 2 games a week. So that's the difference, I think.
Well, we can cross our fingers. I know the voting is not released on who's going to be inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame until the end of this month. But hopefully this will be the year for Coach Smith and Coach Woodson, Indiana University Hoosiers men's basketball coach. Thank you for spending some time with us on the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show from one Broad Ripple Rocket to another. I appreciate you, and good luck on the rest of your season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.